It's time to roll the credits with Chris and Wayne. Good evening and welcome once again to Roll the Credits with Chris and Wayne. I'm Wayne Pyle.
And I'm Chris Ty, and Roll the Credits is the official video podcast of the Hunter Mountain Film Festival, and we're completely online. Make sure you check out all the other great content we have available at huntermountainfilmfestival.com.
Hey, Chris, I was wondering, with everything going on in the world right now with the pandemic and everything else, auditioning as an actor has been pretty difficult. We're not going into the city. There's not a lot of projects that are shooting. Have you had any auditions lately?
Well, Wayne, as a matter of fact, I did a self-tape audition today for a co-star role that came in. I used my blue screen and my ring light, and luckily I didn't have to find a reader. I mean, it was fun and all, but it can still be quite a challenge.
Now, when you say blue screen and ring light, just in case people who are watching don't know what those are, the blue screen is what do you use that for?
Well, it's a big portable screen, blue on one side, green on the other, and the blue just gives me my neutral background so that I can tape against and landscape. Um, and then the ring light, of course, is just a light that lights up my face kind of evenly, minimal shadows and all that. Kind of the necessary tools of any actor doing self-tape.
So
And it provides
does
just
it
a
look
really
kind of like
background.
this, Chris? Does it look kind of like that?
Ooh, I'm already hypnotized with it.
I have one too. I have a small one, and I set up my screen too. And when I put this thing on my tripod, usually it falls off just as I'm about to start doing the self-tape. It can be really tricky to get everything set up, finding a reader, trying to get everything going. I actually miss the days of going into a casting director's office and that sort of excited, nervous feeling you get just before you go in. And now with the pandemic, it's all self-taping. I mean, I've done a few auditions recently, but I think the good thing about self-taping is that you can really do several takes and really nail the audition. But I think some of the spontaneity of acting in the moment, in the room, when they call your name and have you come in, I think that may be gone for a while.
Well, speaking of casting directors, our special guest today is a casting director with Hudson Valley Casting, Wayne.
Well, that's right, Chris. Thank you for that great transition. Our special guest, her name is Heidi Eklund, and she is the owner of Hudson Valley Casting. And even though she's in the Hudson Valley in New York, she casts projects from all over, especially now that everything is self-taping.
I've auditioned for Heidi many times, and I've been fortunate enough to be cast in a couple of films. In Patrick Wayne's A Bread Factory, I shared a scene with legendary actress Tyne Daly, and also in a new film called Audrey, starring Jenna Malone. Heidi and I also worked together as well on an independent feature called Me America, which is now streaming on Amazon Prime.
Oh, it's back on Amazon Prime. I'm in that one as well.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. If you look at Heidi's IMDb page, you'll see that she has cast over 50 projects in many different roles as a casting director over the past few years. Some of the films that I've seen on that page are the feature films, Charlie Kaufman's I'm Thinking of Ending Things, Guy Nativ's Skin, Jim Jarmusch's The Dead Don't Die. She's also working on 5 projects right now, including the casting for The Hating Game, based on the book by Sally Thorne, and a limited series shooting in Kingston, where she's currently looking for Native American actors.
In addition to those projects, Heidi was also principal casting on the film A Deadly Legend. She was instrumental in casting Judd Hirsch, Laura Petty, and Corbin Purtson in that film. We spoke to Eric Wolf and Kristen Anferraro about their experience in writing, starring, and producing that film on another episode. Some of Heidi's other credits include the films Things Heard and Seen with Amanda Seyfried, Driveways with Brian Dennehy and Hong Chow, and Dana Hansen's Confession.
Not only is Heidi an amazingly busy and talented casting director, she's also an actor and has a bunch of acting credits as well. I actually met Heidi when we were playing Romeo and Juliet as young actors for the Baltimore Shakespeare Festival. Let's welcome, to Roll the Credits with Chris and Wayne, Heidi Eklund of Hudson Valley Casting. Welcome, Heidi.
Hi there.
Hello, Heidi.
Hi, thanks for coming on the show tonight. I know you're super busy, so we're going to just jump right into things.
Sure, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us a bit about what a typical day is like for you at Hudson Valley Casting.
You really want to know.
Especially these days. Yes.
Yes,
Um,
our audience wants to know.
so I tried to take a moment in the morning for myself to write in a
Mhm.
journal. This is new development for me because it helps clear the way so that I can be objective and creative and really put forth the best actors, like really take the time to look at what they're doing and to see if they fit the film and to trust my intuition, which I think is my
Mm.
greatest gift as a casting director. Then I mean that's where I start.
Right. Yeah.
Then
So then what happens?
it's a lot of sitting and typing and
Mm.
keeping up with agents and managers and their questions, and directors and producers are always contacting me, asking me questions that I need to keep up with, and delegating the work to my assistants and interns so that when I need things, they're ready for me. It's a lot of orchestrating, and sometimes it can feel really amazing and wonderful, and other times it can be very stressful
Mm.
and challenging.
I'm sure. I'm sure. So along those lines, uh, we've been talking. I'm sure you heard us talking at the top of the show about auditioning and how that's affected us. How has the pandemic affected your work, and what is it like now to cast a film in these in the times of the pandemic?
Ooh, it's it's a lot. It's a lot to process. You know, I've sat through a lot of meetings and I've read a lot of documents about safety protocols, and I too spend time um reading, paying attention to what our governor is saying and what SAG-AFTRA is saying. And they've worked with a whole bunch of other unions to come up with this 60-page document that's kind of like law now. And
Mm.
I'm aware of what I need to be aware of as someone bringing forth talent. And each production sort of handles it in their own way. Like, for instance, one of the productions that I'm helping out with a few local actors, they're actually delivering the tests to people's homes.
Oh
They
wow.
like purchased a whole bunch of tests, and they have a nurse that like explained how to do it, and people self-test and then they turn the test in and they get their results within 2 days. um, and it's pretty fascinating how many people are willing to work and they're ready
Hmm.
to, take the test, and they're meeting all the deadlines. It makes everything more complicated,
I'm
for
sure.
sure.
Yeah.
It's instead of scheduling fittings, we're scheduling medical tests, or in addition to scheduling fittings, we're scheduling medical tests. Um, and I am strategically looking, like it's taking a lot more time for me because I'm strategically looking at where people are coming from. And I care about the production and I care about the people, and I don't want anyone to get sick because of somebody I brought in. So when someone says, "Oh well, I'll self-report from Maryland or another state," I really think about that. I think about, and one of my biggest things right now is self-report in your own car. I
Mm.
don't want anyone taking public transport to set. I don't want anyone thinking they can come up on a train and take a taxi. I mean, like, you're just so exposed. That test that you've taken is pretty much invalid at that point. So
Right. Right.
I'm
Hmm.
really encouraging um, people to come in their own cars because they're at least in their bubble. They walk from their home and they get in the car, and the zones,
I was
so
going to ask you about that. Could you talk a little bit about that and how that's
everything.
working?
I get to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah.
I'm not a
Yeah.
pro, but everything else is C. So the whole world and your home is the C zone, and the B zones are the set and various places on set, and the A zone is like the lead actors. We have to protect them and make sure that they're safe, and
Sure.
only you get a credential and you can go into the main set or not, and this is where you wear your mask. I mean, the whole document can be read or others like it, as to how those zones work. But that's essentially it. And I think about the zone, you know, the from waking up and getting in your car and going to set, that's like my responsibility to make sure that's the safest zone possible, from our casting perspective.
What I'm
And
curious
So like
about,
this,
what I'm curious
yeah.
about in this, you know, with the pandemic is what about extras and background actors? How is that going to work? Do they have like a group of people that they're keeping in one place to be the background, or have you noticed anything different about that?
I am helping out. Let me sidebar for a second.
Hmm.
I am a casting director in a local environment, and a lot of projects happen in this environment. So I help the neighborhood and the community by doing projects as little as like hand models, all the way up to principal casting with celebrities and stars, and getting A-list talent and market value talent. So it's an interesting position to be in. And I do help with extras casting when someone's really, really in need of it. They sort of ask me to package it with the speaking roles that I cast from local talent. So I do actually cast extras. It's very challenging.
I'm sure.
And bless anyone who's a background casting director. Your job is hard, and I know it, and I'm right there with you in the trenches.
I mean, it's like daily check-ins and making sure people get to set it. It's got to be
When you get
much harder now.
you
But
have to, the call sheet could come at 3 o'clock in the morning, and
right.
you're there emailing all your people, telling them when to get to set and what to wear and what to bring. And as a matter of fact, I have about 25 extras due on a set in Kingston tomorrow.
Wow.
And the production's been excellent. They've taken on a lot of the communication with the actors, which I usually do, especially around the testing part of things. And they have also this is a great thing. They have adopted this new product called Castify, and it is they're in cahoots with Green Slate, the payment company, and they do all of the vouchers and all of the paperwork. So no one's actually signing, touching paper,
Oh, wow.
that kind of stuff.
Oh, good.
So that's all done ahead of time, which
Right.
is in some ways delightful with background, because usually everything's very last minute with background, but we are able to actually have the production pin things down weeks in advance so that they know who's going to be on set, because they have to be tested 2 days in advance, and they have to fill out all their paperwork, which takes a lot of time because it's several pages of documents.
Right.
So that's all taken care of ahead of time. So that's the difference I'm noticing. And also background is really low numbers.
Right. Right. I would
And
imagine
the
with
same
everything going on.
people coming back again and again as much as possible.
Right. So now let's contrast that with your principal casting or local casting. What's the difference?
It's two different brains. It's two
It
different
seems like it. It
you
seems like
know,
it. Yeah.
when you reach out to agents and managers for, like, okay, we're going to reach out to, I don't know, Ty Jones' agent, and we're going to see if Ty wants to be in our production. And you send out this very long and, beautiful email with all the information and a lookbook or whatever, whatever it is that you can lure actors and managers to love your project. And you wait. It's a lot of waiting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of communication with big groups of people protecting celebrities.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
um, and then with background, I'm reaching into the neighborhood. I'm reaching into a group of people who've never been on a movie set before. And in a way, I mean, I do love that, because I love the excitement that people bring when they've never been on a set and they really want to do it, and they're trying to make sure that they have everything lined up and ready to go.
Mhm.
And that's a lot of spreadsheet work. The extra work is is a big spreadsheet, and you have to fill in the numbers and make sure you have the right actors and schedule all their fittings. And then, principal casting, I get them into the director, I audition them, I negotiate their offer, I facilitate that negotiation with agents and managers, and then eventually just hand it over to lawyers, and then I'm done, and somebody else contacts them and make sure that they get the fittings and all of those things.
Right.
And they both are spreadsheet work, just keeping track of all the roles.
Right. So let me just see if I understand you. So part of it is like the creative coming up with the ideas of who to fill in for who these people could be in your,
That's the fun part.
Yeah.
On any level,
Right.
on any level, it's like, ooh, I get to write, because I am the one who comes up with the role descriptions if the director hasn't. So I get to read the whole script, pull out the role, and creatively come up with who is this, and how do I write a description that's going to lure the right kind of actors, the right types. And then I put it out there, and I get a whole bunch of people really fast. And I get to look through all these amazing faces and different, people who want to come and help us tell this story.
Right.
And then, and that's the creative part. Just getting to decide well, this person looks like they fit because of this, and I'm really curious what this person's going to give me in a read. And then then there's the next excitement of, well, I've picked these people, now what are they going to give me?
Right.
How are they going to capture my attention? What uniqueness are they going to bring to the table? Are they really being themselves? Are they I also have this kind of fun fascination with who in my local talent pool is ready for a speaking role. Can I send it out to someone who's never had a speaking role and gather back an audition that's really well done? I am often surprised. I've plucked people out of coffee shops, and they've booked speaking roles in films.
So you mean surprised in a good way, like that they?
In a good way,
Yeah. I'm sure you've been surprised in the other way too.
I have been surprised at some auditions that have come through, unfortunately. But everybody has good days and everybody has bad days.
Yeah.
And I don't hold it against anybody. I just this isn't your film or your role or your time, so I just put it aside.
Well, everyone is self-taping now, and what advice would you give to actors who do self-tapes? What's one thing that actors who submit self-tapes could do better in auditions?
Well, the self-tapes now are better than ever. I have to.
I'm sure.
Everybody's
got their ring light. Everybody's got their blue background or gray background. Right?
I have my background, and we've all become very savvy tech wise. And I think this is good for me, because then we can get past the technical snafus that often happen, and we can get to the storytelling, which is the most important part. So the best advice I can give people is follow the directions, make sure you get your slate right, be yourself as much as you can, because that's ultimately who we want, especially for film and television, and bring forth the best you so that we're fascinated and want to watch.
That's great. I submitted myself for something today. A person who does directors workshops is looking for actors, and she said, if you want to submit as an actor to be a volunteer for the actors who get directed in this workshop, follow these steps. And at the bottom of it, she said, if you don't follow these instructions, you will not be considered. I am shocked at how many actors think that the instructions are suggestions.
It's so true. It's my one thing that bothers me is, well, if you can't follow directions, then how is the director going to direct you and you follow the director's directions?
Right.
Really a big thing. And I do get a little put off when I've clearly stated to submit on the breakdowns, and then people start emailing me. It's like, okay, I want to be nice. I am nice.
Right.
But I get frustrated sometimes with some of the things that come through, and people think that they should be pitching themselves to me. Let your manager or agent pitch, or
Right.
just let your work be seen through the breakdowns. And if you're not getting picked, then address that at that level.
Sure.
See if you can find representation, or try things with your pictures and your work, to see how you can capture somebody. Because if you're not getting picked, I think there's a little bit of a clue there for you where you need to examine things.
Sure.
And it's not easy work to do that. We all want to be picked. I want the job. I want to be the best casting director. I want people to like me, but we also have to do the inner work that makes us free and able to do the work.
Yeah, I get that. And I think what I hear you saying is that in the following of the instructions, I mean, it frees you up to be able to really look at that actor and see their work rather than going, why are they reaching out to me through email when I specifically said to send it through breakdown services? Or it pulls you out of the creative part of, will this person be able to tell this story or fit into this story, because the instructions and not following them are kind of getting in the way. So then past that, I have another question to ask you about this. So once you like see the group of people that, like, let's say you have a role to fulfill and you've chosen a bunch of actors for that. I'm sure you get, like, I don't know, I've several hundred people submitting for one role. How do you decide, like, when you're looking at the self-tapes or looking at the auditions, how do you decide which ones to put into the group to send along to directors or to producers? And how do you decide, like, well, these people have to either try again, or, they didn't quite make it to that group?
Well, I think instinctually, we all know who are good actors and who are not doing their best to tell this story authentically. We all know. I just decided that this was the job that I was going to have, and I do it professionally. But it's clear we all watch TV, and we all are critics about so-and-so's performance, or why we like this actor better than we like this actor. And a lot of it is personal choice. But I decide, there's a few things. So
yeah, what for you grabs your attention and just makes you decide, this person I should pass along?
Well, I want to be positive.
You can be authentic. Let us know, what you think.
So I'm an animated lady with my hands, and I'm like, thrashing about. And the camera doesn't really like that very much. So I try to pick people who have a steadiness and control. A lot of the people who book are very, very quiet, even though it's very charged with emotion and energy. It's really intense, and it's almost like they're going, come here. I really want to tell you something. I really want you to come and see this story. I want you to see what I'm doing. And it's almost like there's no divide between this person and the work. It's like they're one. And it's funny because Dana Hansen from Confession, she fell in love with some actors because she was just like, I'm watching the movie already.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Even though they're just sitting in a room with an elephant behind them or a
right.
They're in it. They're telling the story. They are that person, and they've really drawn us in. And yes, you don't become the person, but it's like you can't tell the difference.
Right.
But for me, authenticity, I don't care if you're reading the script or not, you can still bring authenticity to the role and say things realistically and interestingly. I mean, some people are crafting their audition and they are, strategically saying things in a certain way, but it's still honest and
Mm,
truthful in the moment.
yeah. Yeah, I get that.
It's so
Well,
important.
Heidi, we love to ask our guests to share funny or interesting stories about their experiences. What's a story that maybe you could share with us? And not anything I did.
I was going to say that one time when Chris showed up. Uh,
Oh, I feel like I'd be sitting here for a long time trying to come up with something.
okay. No, that's valid. I mean, can you think of something maybe that somebody a project that you were working on that also that something that moved you in some way or that was very meaningful? That's also interesting.
Um, yeah, let me talk about, I'm actually doing a PSA
Oh, great.
for Alcoholics Anonymous right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a small project, but no less important or valid than any other. And I've watched a few of the reads. What I asked people to do was just tell a story where you had to ask for help. And I've been weeping watching them. Like,
Mm,
people really have opened up, and they're really telling authentic stories. They're really being brave and sharing something, that they may not have the opportunity to share any other time. And I appreciate it. I think it's really, really cool.
Are they
Um,
non-actors?
I think they're actors,
mm.
um, but actors are people too.
Yeah, I'm always annoyed whenever a commercial comes on and says this is not an actor. I mean, you're on a commercial, you're an actor, even if you're even if you
Yeah,
have the thing that you're talking about, right? I'm like, hey, actors are people too, you know.
I have to say, I'm
constant
always
popular
fascinated.
belief. Actors are people too.
I am always fascinated by breakdowns when I see them, when I'm, submitting for a job that says, we want real people, not actors. And of course,
Right,
the
yeah,
only
that's what
people
I
who are
mean.
looking at
And they're on an
breakdowns.
actor website.
Right, they're on an actor
Yeah.
website, right? I remember an audition I went for one time where they were like, I told them all of my credits, that and things that I've been working on, major networks and with great directors. And the person was like, yeah, but what else do you do? What's your real job? We want to cast people who are doing these real jobs. And I was like, well, what possible job could I not be an actor and and act like I'm doing? I was like, I couldn't understand where the question was leading, but I get that for some work, for some jobs, they want a real authenticity, like a real knowledge of how to use the tools or the terminology. I get that for some things, but in the moment I was like, what, wow, I'm an actor. What do you want me to do? Give me a script. So Heidi, I know you're super busy, so we don't want to keep you on too long.
You have a funny story.
Oh, you have a
Well,
funny story? Oh, well, please share with us, please.
So I was helping this person audition, and
Uh-huh.
um, it was a bed scene. So I know that sounds crazy, but so he's lying in the bed, and he knocks over this entire jewelry box full of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And it fell everywhere in the middle of the scene. It was such a good take. And neither of us reacted to it, except for he reacted to it in the scene.
Mm.
And it was so good, that reaction, because it was real. It was like he was annoyed, but he was like controlling the annoyed feeling that he was having. It was perfect moment, and it was hilarious. And it's a good example of just like, we have to be professional. We have to stick with it.
Mm.
When you're on set and you're shooting, no matter what's going on, you just got to keep motoring forward and get it done and stay with it. I mean, we now have digital, film, but
Right.
back in the day when you were filming stuff, you had reels and they were expensive. So,
Right.
but
Right.
still, you have a whole crew full of people that is costing, either hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. You better get your stuff together and be ready to do it. But anyway, that's a funny story.
That
That's
is
a
a funny
Bob
story.
Ross.
Wait, say that again, Chris. I think you got cut off there.
That's a Bob Ross moment. A happy accident
Happy Accidents. Yes, Bob Ross, the Bob Ross School of Acting, Happy Accidents. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because actually I think that is important. Like we get a script and it has the lines written in it, but I think sometimes it's more, when those things happen, it can show some authentic life, somebody really reacting to something real or just getting really in touch, like you said, with the annoyance or whatever it is. And sometimes I know you've told me stories in the past too, where you've sent along auditions. Going back to that topic of who you send along, they may not be perfect auditions. Every line you write, or even the person is not exactly as listed in the script for the definition of the character, but you see some life in it as something real and authentic, and you pass that along. And sometimes I think this is true. You can correct me or not. You've changed the director's mind about which direction to go for a character.
I have one actress in particular. I bring her forth so many times, and it's always for something completely different, and she often books. And if she doesn't book, she gets the director's attention.
Yeah.
She's just got this magical way of talking and being that you want to watch.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, again, I don't want to keep you too long. We could keep telling stories all night, but
Yeah.
I know you have to get back to your 5 projects. So people can find you at hudsonvalleycasting.com, which we'll put right down there, and also on Facebook at Hudson Valley Casting as well. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
on Insta, I think I have a Twitter, but I don't pay much attention to it. So,
what's your Instagram so people know how to reach you there?
At Hudson Valley Casting.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And then speaking of that, I do have one more question for you, actually, because these are ways people can sort of reach out to you and find you. What advice do you give to actors who want to reach out to you to be considered? Like, let's say they see this and they go, well, I'd like to get in touch with her because I'd like to be considered. Is there like a protocol or advice that you give to people for reaching out to a casting director cold? Like you're not looking for somebody, they just want to send you an email or send you something on the Facebook page or through the website.
Well, I will be launching a brand new sign up form pretty soon. And I really want everybody to come and fill that out. Everyone, because local. Right. So like within a few hours of the Hudson Valley, or a couple hours or an hour. But I'm okay with emails. If someone's like, I had problems with my audition and I don't think it uploaded, can I send it to you? I'm pretty okay with that. That's pretty standard and that happens. But, oh, I just uploaded my audition. Okay, please don't send me that.
As the emails pile up,
I have 400 people auditioning. So if every person did that, I would just be deleting your emails all day.
Right.
So follow the instructions, really, get to know your casting directors. How do they like it? Brett Goldstein has a beautiful thing on her website. She said, I want you to do this. I want you to do this. I say, please fill out my form. I'm going to go looking on the form for people. Mm-hmm. I like Actors Access. I use Casting Crane, which is a kind of a catch-all. I use Casting Networks. I have used Casting Frontier. I mean, you have to pick how much money you're going to spend on these things, and they are reasonable, but have all your information ready and get out of your own way to do your best work.
Great.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we go?
Be safe, wear a mask, especially if you're going to set, and be well.
Heidi, we are very grateful for your time today. Thank you so much for joining us on Roll the Credits with Chris and Wayne. We just want to remind everyone to check out all the other great content on HunterMountainFilmFestival.com.
Well, Wayne, I guess it's time to roll the credits.
Thanks, Heidi. Bye-bye.
Bye.